Hello, and welcome back to the Ship of Thesis and our Crusader Kings 3 DLC series. And as you can see, I am currently in the game as Jarl Bjorn Ironside of Upland, because he is indeed a Norseman, and the Northern Lords DLC has landed today. So of course I would like to upload some content. However, I would love to do a first impressions video, but the game literally came out an hour ago. So I really don't want to try and give you guys a first impressions when I haven't spent any time in the game at all at this point. But I did at least want to give some content for you all to enjoy, just in case you are looking to get into the DLC. So I thought what I would do off the back of my last few videos where I explained all the things that were coming as part of a change to both the 1.3 patch and the DLC itself, I figured one thing we could take a concrete look at and explain straight away is the legacy system. So as you can see here, the Norse get two different legacies that they can pick perks from, the Adventure and the Pillage. So we did mention this in the previous video, but we're going to actually go into detail because now we can actually hover over all of these wonderful things and start explaining what they all actually mean. Likewise, while we're here, we're going to go through the other legacy trees as well, and we'll explain which perks have been changed and what those changes actually mean. So it should be a relatively short and focused video specifically around legacy. So if you're interested in that, stick around and I'm going to show you everything there is to learn about both the Northern Lords DLC legacies and the 1.3 patch legacy perks. So strap yourself into your longship, grab yourself a drinking horn, and let's get started, shall we? Okay, so the first thing is Wanderlust, and that is giving us a diplomatic range of plus 30. We receive bonus troops above the cap when adventuring. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And we also get a brand new Dynasty Head interaction, which is sent to the Varangian Guard. So already there's quite a lot to unpack just in this very first perk. Not least of which because it's part of the adventure tree, which means it specifically refers to adventuring. So, let's deal with them in turn, shall we? First up, Diplomatic Range plus 30. Diplomatic Range is basically the range at which you can interact with characters around the rest of the world, basically. So you can always interact with your immediate neighbours. So these people all the way around Upland, Jarl Bjorn here, is perfectly capable of interacting with no matter what. However, he might struggle to interact with people who are much, much further away. What's the actual impact of this? Well, it means that having an increased diplomatic range, you will be able to, for instance, get additional wives. You'll be able to bring in people to get married because you'll have a larger bubble that you can actually recruit people from. The same can be said with knights. You'll be able to bring more people to come and fight for you, and likewise join your court and just generally become extra breeding stock. So all round, that's actually a pretty good addition all by itself. However, it doesn't stop there. So it says receive bonus troops above the cap when adventuring. What does that mean? Well, it looks like we have a brand new Casus Belli in the form of adventuring. So as Jarl Bjorn here, I'm going to click on East Anglia over here. And there's Petty King Edmund Ethelwardson of East Anglia. I'm going to right click on him and I'm going to click on Declare War. And you can see that I now have the Invade Kingdom, Casus Belli, Conquer Duchy. You'll be familiar with these, Conquer County. But what's this? Varangian Adventure against East Anglia. And if we hover over that, you can see that this is a special type of war where the attacker intends to move their realm to the war target wholesale. If they win, they will immediately annex the appropriate counties and move their capital there. Their old vassals will go independent, and their old counties will be given to upstart local warlords. Varangian adventures are only available to Duke and Count tier rulers, becoming progressively more expensive with each successful adventure. This Casus Belli is never available after the tribal era and cannot be used against other cultures that can adventure or against neighbouring rulers. North Germanics launching their first Varangian adventure receive up to 2,000 bonus special soldiers, the amount going up with every same faith, same culture county they control within mainland Scandinavia. So that's an awful lot of information to unpack in just one tooltip. But in effect, let's just sum it up. If I was to declare war on East Anglia, then it would mean that I would move my entire kingdom from Upland, and I would now take East Anglia and everything that is inside it. That would become my new kingdom. My old kingdom would be handed off to someone else. So you are literally having the option to decide, right, you know what, I am in Scandinavia, I am a Norseman, but I want to take over something in England, I want to take something over in West Francia, and that gives you an option to go and do that, which is very, very different and quite cool. And like I said, it simulates that settling and assimilating in a new culture. So, very interesting start there. I'm not going to go into all of the other specifics. I think we'll do a video specifically around adventuring where we go really deep dive into it. But for now, that's the crux of what that is giving you. You're getting additional troops above a cap when you go adventuring. So very, very cool. The third one, Dynasty Head interaction send to the Varangian Guard. So it says underneath there, the Dynasty Head gains the ability to pay prestige in order to send away their unlanded adult dynasty members to potentially gain skills and traits. So that's pretty cool. You're basically sending off your children, effectively. Or I guess it does say dynasty members, so it doesn't look like it's restricted to your children. But children makes most sense. And you can send them off to go and get skills and traits, basically. So all round, Wanderlust, the very first perk in the adventuring tree. Very cool, very useful. I like it. So, next up we have Gift Givers. So, this reduces the cost of us sending a gift by 50%, it increases our seduction scheme success chance by plus 15%, and we gain prestige for every successful seduction scheme. So again, very cool, especially if you are looking to make lots of children, but it also fits that whole theme of romancing lots of women and spreading your dynasty all over the place. If you've watched the TV show Vikings, you'll kind of get the idea that they're going for with this, right? Sending gifts makes it easier to make people like you. Having that straight plus 15% is great. And gaining prestige just builds into that whole tribal thing where prestige is everything and really, really useful. So overall, really good. I like that one. A lot more simple to explain than Wanderlust. So let's move on. So next up, we have Strange Gods. Different faith opinion plus 15. Different faith popular opinion minus 50%. Faith conversion cost minus 50%. Dynasty member demand conversion acceptance plus 50. So let's unpack this one, shall we? In essence, if you consider that you're going to be adventuring and you're going to be taking over brand new lands that may well indeed have a different faith to you, then this just helps mitigate that. It's making it easier to convert people, and it's also making them hate you a bit less, which is just useful. So again, it fits into the theme overall and is actually useful, particularly if you look at that faith popular opinion. If we just hover over that, it should tell you there. The general populace of each county has an opinion of the character who holds their county. If the population is unhappy, then they might join a peasant faction or a populist faction. So this particularly makes it easier for you to hold territory that's not specifically yours to begin with. So again, very cool. Next up, let's talk about Veteran Explorers. Enemy hostile scheme chance success minus 15%, movement speed plus 10%, supply duration plus 100%. So a bit of a mix in there. The hostile scheme success chance is good. It just makes it easier for you to go and kill people effectively. The movement speed is going to make your armies faster. So if you are adventuring to conquer new lands, that's just going to be useful. And the supply duration, again, having plus 100 supply duration is meaning that you're going to be able to wage your wars that little bit longer before supply becomes an issue. We'll be talking about supply on my channel in the tutorial series when I do that video, which should be in about a week or two. So it's pretty cool. Next up is Decentralized Rule, which is you can use the befriend scheme on vassals. Each of your friends' relations gives you 3 vassal opinion, 2 popular opinion, and plus 1 vassal tax contribution for up to 5 friends. So that's pretty cool. The befriend scheme is very useful. Being able to influence people and get good opinion, particularly with your vassals, is great. You need vassal opinion. Each of your friend relations gives you 3 vassal opinion, 2 popular opinion, and plus 1 vassal contribution on top of that. Plus 1% vassal tax contribution on top of that is just useful. You can get up to 5% extra tax out of each of your vassals, which is effectively free. You just need to make friends with them, which is cool. Getting additional opinion with your vassals, which is going to take you up to plus 15, so that's again pretty decent. And getting up to 10 popular opinion, again, kind of works similar to how the faith popular opinion works, but instead of faith, it's just popular opinion. So again, really, really useful. I like this tree overall, particularly when you're combining it with the actual adventuring mechanic. I think it's something very, very different. Gives a really good flavour to the Nordic regions, and it means that you can do that stuff that you see in the TV shows of going and trying to start maybe even start a new farming community like Ragnar Lothbrok tries in the Viking series. So I quite like that. Very, very cool. Let's talk about pillaging next. So, as I mentioned in my previous video, we have the Sea Wolves trait, and this just gives you +1 prowess, which is just good. You're going to be slightly better at fighting. Your naval speed goes up by +20%, so that's kind of useful. If you're doing raiding, then you're going to be using ships quite often, so that means that you're just going to be a bit quicker to get there and actually deploy your troops to get the gold. But equally, you'll be quicker at getting away when you need to as well, so that's useful. And just getting prestige and fame from battles at +100% is great. As a Viking, prestige and fame are everything, right? And getting +100% is a massive, massive boost. So I think this just takes raiding, which is already a cornerstone of tribal play, and just makes it even better. I should actually just momentarily point out, this is specific to the Nordic region. So these perks here, you do not get them if you're playing a different type of tribal ruler. You do need to be of the Nordic culture group, or Norse, I should say, culture group. So if you click here, you can see your culture groups. If you select the right character, you can see Norse here. So you can see if you're of this culture group, you will get them. If, however, you were to pick, say, a tribal leader over here, like a Finnish leader, you wouldn't. So just because you're tribal doesn't mean you will get these. In fact, I can demonstrate that by literally switching characters, just to show it beyond all doubt that is the case. If I now go into the tree, you can see we have now lost the access to those two legacies. So just so that you're aware that is definitely a thing. We shall head back to Upland, where we know that we have a tribal ruler that is also of Norse culture. So next, let's take a look at always space in the hold. Army loot capacity +50%. If you're raiding, you're generally trying to do it to get money, and your loot capacity is basically what you get from raiding. Again, we're going to do a specific video on raiding in my tutorial series at some point, but if you take a look at it here, it will tell you that if a holding is raiding or occupied in a siege, the attacker will get an amount of gold equal to their loot. The more prosperous the holding is, the more loot it will have. So effectively, each raiding army actually has a capacity that you can see. And I should be able to demonstrate that by going over to the military tab over here, and you can see raise all as raiders. So you can choose how you want to raise your troops. Raising them as armies means that you're going to fight with them. Raising them as raiders does not. And I can't currently raise as raiders because I'm currently at war, which is mildly annoying. So we're going to need to change our character to be able to demonstrate this. Okay, so we've just moved over to the county just along from us, and you can see here I now have the raise all as raiders option. So if I click that, you can now see that my raiding army has been raised, and you can see that it has this raid loot value here, and it's currently 0 of 0. So that's because the army itself currently hasn't actually raised all of its troops. If I increase the speed of the game and unpause it, you'll see that they will raise up to the value that they can get up to, and you can now see that the raid loot is 53. So the size of your raiding force determines how much loot that you can actually carry. And if we go back into our legacies and take a look at always space in the hold, we're going to get an extra 50% of that if we pick up this perk in pillaging. So that's just good. On top of that, defender advantage +5. So that's kind of useful. It's not the be all and end all, but it is useful. And the max size of heavy infantry regiments is +2. So again, it's kind of useful. Not the be all and end all, but pretty good. So next up, practiced kidnappers. Gold from ransoms is +50%. So again, this is all about raiding. You're trying to steal gold. You're trying to take all of the wealth and riches of everyone around you. So kidnapping them is also an option. And if you take prisoners, you're also going to gain prestige when you ransom them. You are more likely to imprison characters after a successful siege or raid. So it's making it more likely you're going to pick up prisoners. You're going to gain prisoners when you do ransom them. And when you ransom them, you're going to make 50% more gold. So I'm really liking the pillage tree. I like the adventure stuff because I like the completely different style of play. But the pillage stuff, oh, it's nice. It's quite nice. You can become very wealthy off the back of this. and I'm looking forward to giving it a go in a playthrough. So next up, we have Making a Killing. Enemy fatal casualties plus 10%. So again, this is really useful. When you kill people, you're going to earn gold as well. As it says, gain gold from battles. 5 gold per 100 fatal casualties. Now, I don't know how much you can rely on this. It's going to depend very much on the situation. But you're just going to be making extra gold for winning battles. So that's just all round good. And I think what you want to do really then is probably focus your army in such a way that you're making sure you're causing fatal casualties. So you're already going to cause plus 10%. And if you go back and maybe I can put something in the top corner that references one of my tutorial videos where we talk about what fatal casualties are versus basically people who've run away. We talk about how you can structure your army in order to maximize that. So really you're going to want to do that with this, because then you're going to start earning quite a bit of gold on top just for free, just for winning. So that's pretty cool as well. So next up we have No Quarter, daily siege progress plus 25%. So I think that's just all round good. Your wars are going to go faster. You're going to be able to siege a holding down quicker. And when you raid, you also siege down a holding, right? So if you remember when we looked over army loot, then you need to raid or occupy during a siege. So just being able to siege 25% quicker is great, especially since one of the problems with being a raider is that, well, people don't like being raided. So if I decide to go and raid France, well, then somebody in the Carling dynasty over here, Charles the Bald, for example, he's probably going to raise an army and come and try and kill me. And once I'm sieging a holding, it's difficult for me to run away at that point. So being able to raid faster is a massive, massive perk to the Norse playstyle. It makes them just so much better at raiding than all of the other tribal rulers that can raid. So, again, really good perk overall. So that pretty much sums up the changes for the DLC around the specific Norse culture group legacies. What we're going to do now is we're going to very quickly go through the other legacies that have been changed, and I'm going to show you what they were before and what they are now. If you would actually like a too long didn't read version of this, effectively there's actually been quite a few things added. So I expected there to be more nerfs here, but it looks like most things have received some form of buff. So we can start out on the warfare perk list, and the very first one that we want to look at is Inherited Tactics. So you can see there is now Men-at-Arms counter efficiency plus 15%. Previously, this just gave you plus 5 advantage. Now you're getting an additional plus 15% to your Men-at-Arms counter efficiency. So that's just good. Next up, we have Generational Belligerence, which is actually over here in the list. And you can see here that we've actually had Pursue efficiency added of plus 15% and retreat losses of minus 15%. Previously, this would just give you minus 20% casus belli costs. So, again, this is really good. It's worth pointing out that this little symbol here indicates that it's a commander modifier. So any other things that I've showed here, like the Defender Advantage plus 5, I think that is the only one. No, Making a Killing as well. That's basically the commander that's receiving that change. So that's obviously important to know. But that's Generational Belligerence. Then the next set of changes actually exists inside of the Lore Legacy. And the first one that we need to look at is Faithful Magistrates. And what's changing here is the title creation cost is minus 20% gold. So previously you got the control growth, but now you're also getting the reduction in title creation cost. So that's pretty good as well. Next up is Power and Prosperity. So that has been changed to add building construction cost minus 5% and holding construction cost minus 5%, whereas previously you only got monthly stewardship lifestyle experience plus 10%. So again, just all round good. Delegated Authority is up next with a change, and that one has added the what's called in the game files Happy Powerful Vassal Tax and Happy Powerful Vassal Levy Contribution Multiplier. Or in this case, you get 10% more gold and 10% more levy out of your powerful vassal councillors, basically. So if you can make them happy by putting them on your council by this sense, and I guess we can hover over it and it will show us what a councillor is, and powerful vassal and all of this, then you're going to get more out of your vassals, which is just good. Next up is Home Estates. That has added the control province advantage +5. So you're getting extra defender advantage if you control that province. So again, it's pretty good. All around, all of these are so far just buffs. We aren't really seeing anything that's been nerfed at all, which is kind of nice. So next up we have Guile. So under Guile we have Ominous Reputation. That has now added +20% dread gain. So that's pretty good. The dread... I should correct that actually. It used to be +20% dread gain, but now it's +15%, or +15 rather, to your natural dread modifier. So that's just getting all round better, so another buff there. Next up we have Natural Schemers, which is over here, and that one has added owned scheme secrecy, add +15%. So it's basically saying scheme secrecy. So I'm reading the things between the legacies in the UI that you guys are looking at, but also the game files that I've poured through. So basically you're getting an additional 15% to your scheme secrecy. So again, really, really good. Next is Venial, and that has added the Intimidated Vassal Tax Contribution and Terrified Vassal Tax Contribution of 10 and 20% respectively, whereas it used to just be monthly tyranny increases. So you're going to get extra gold out of your Intimidated and Terrified Vassals, which is actually really awesome. I quite like to play Dreadful Rulers, so that's kind of a nice perk to take if you can. After that, we've got the changes under the Erudition legacy, so that's all the way down here. Blood doesn't appear to have had any changes whatsoever as far as I can see. So we go straight down to this one. And the first one that has changed that I can see is Ordained Rulership. So that one has changed to allow clergy opinion of +5. So that clergy opinion is applied to both lay clergy and temporal clergy, as they are different. This used to be under True Believers, but it's been moved from there. So this is the first, I guess, sort of nerf. True Believers used to have this in there, but I can't necessarily call it a nerf because it gets additional things instead. But yeah, it used to exist under here. It's now moved under Ordained Rulership. So next up is Treasured Knowledge. And that has had the development growth factor added of +20%. Then we have True Believers. And that has added a whole bunch of things in there. So now you're getting character modifiers being added. So as I said before, True Believers used to give you opinion modifiers, but now it looks like it's giving you domain taxes for the same faith, +5%. Faith creation and reformation cost is reduced by 20%, and you get more piety from pilgrimage, +30%. So that's pretty good overall. Next up we have Glory. There are changes under Renowned Name, which is the second one along. That is now adding the mercenary hire cost of -10%. You also have an additional knight, so your cap is increased by taking that perk. Earning Respect is the next one that has a change, and that has added the personal scheme pair of +25%. And then Assertive Rulers adds max sway schemes limit +1. So it doesn't actually say that in this tooltip, which is interesting. No, I should correct that. Assertive Rulers adds the vassal limit of +10. That's correct. And it's Righteousness that adds the max sway schemes +1. So that's correct. So yeah, you're just getting all round better things. You're getting an additional vassal limit here of +10 for Assertive Rulers. So that's very good. And then Righteousness is allowing you to sway additional people. So again, really, really good. Next up we have changes to the kin, and I should say next up this is the last set of changes. So Bounteous Loins gives an attraction opinion now of +5, where previously you only got +10% fertility. Studious Youth gives child opinion +10, whereas previously it only gave you the education traits perk. Constant Care gives a negate health penalty, add 0.5, or as it says here, fewer complications during pregnancy. So they've kind of obfuscated that. So I guess disease resistance health medium boost. I don't know if that was actually part of the original one. Let me just check that. It doesn't look like it was. So I think both the disease resistance and the fewer complications are actually added as part of that. It's kind of difficult from reading it from the game files, but I think so. It looks like you used to only get the plus 10 to your opinion modifier. So that's a nice change. Close bonds has also had the close family opinion plus 10 added. So again, that's really useful. All of these are all buffs, right? And that is the end of the changes. So pretty much they just got better. I was expecting when they referred to rebalanced that actually there were going to be some things that got quite heavily nerfed. But in general, it looks like they've just added additional things in here. So the last thing that is worth mentioning is that they have changed the way that cost of renown works, and it says that up here. Acquiring new dynasty legacies becomes harder and harder as the cost increases by 500 each time. So what I've just done is gone into debug mode and added myself a 4,000 renown, and you can see that here. So previously, this used to work as 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and you had to unlock the first one in the tree before you could unlock anything thereafter. So that is still true. I can unlock Wonderlust, and you can see here that's going to cost me 250 renown, which is significantly cheaper. So those first few dynasty perks are going to be much, much easier to unlock. But as you can see now, if I select House of Warriors, that's now gone up to 750 renown because it added 500. So in effect, the first few that you get will be cheaper and easier to obtain, but in the long run it's going to be harder to max this entire tree out. Likewise, you can see here this is 750 renown as well, and we could continue to unlock and unlock, but you can see it's going to progress up. So previously, unlocking this entire line would have taken me 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. So if you add all of that up, you end up with 15,000 renown that you'd need to spend just to unlock the entire adventure tree. Whereas now you can see I can get pretty far down that just with my 4,000. I'm not quite going to have enough to get to decentralized rule, but you can see with just 4,000 renown, I've managed to get 4 perks down an entire line, which again is really, really cool, really, really useful, and it means that you can actually get a line much easier than before. However, in the long run, because we're adding an additional 500 renown each time, that's going to convert into it. You're just going to slow down as the game progresses, unless you can obviously increase the amount of renown that you earn. But it just means that you can't just snowball through all of these like easy ones, because each one that you pick will make the next one harder. As you can see, I'm going to take decentralized rule here, and that's going to completely lock me out from taking Seawolves, because this has now gone over to, we're looking at 2,750 before we can even get a new line. So you can see that it just changes the way that it's going to work. So that's the crux of all of the changes that have come in the 1.3 and Northern Lords DLC. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that and found it informative, and it does give you a release day video to whet your appetite with. I will be starting my own playthrough, so I will come back with a more formal, probably a little bit more of a review rather than a first impressions of what I think of the DLC overall. But I wanted to get some opportunity to actually play the game before I give you that kind of opinion, because it's way too early for me to give you a call at this point. But hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.